I'm back! I figured from the analytics on some of the videos that some of you quite enjoyed the kind of like Chantelle's diaries, particularly one where I said I quit my job, which I still thoroughly stand by now. It's September. So I thought I'd bring these back, make them quick and sharp so they don't take up too much of your time. 10 minutes, hopefully maximum. And we'll go from there with just some sneaky little edits that make them look a little bit fun. And then we'll go from there. So I was in a nice little outfit today. I thought I'd make the most of it and get going. We'll ignore the fact that the ladder's there. I wanted to talk today about the fact that I got through August as someone that is a supply teacher without earning any money. Now, we are mid-September as I record this, and I know I'm not getting paid at the end of September, which I'm not anxious about. I do not have an anxious feeling. I am watching it. Of course, I'm not going out there and spending all my money. And I do have the basics of the mortgage and most of the bills covered. That's there. So there is a pot for that. And there is a pot for what I call tax/September. It's a pot that if the government turn around and tell me that I owe them money, I don't shit myself and go, oh my God, where am I going to find that? I have a pot for that. But I also have a pot, the same pot for September, which is like, if something comes up and it turns out I don't have the money for September, then that's there. So I am okay. And I think that's why I feel all right. I just don't like not having reserves, which this ultimately at the end of September when I have to pay the mortgage and haven't had a wage come in, not of that amount anyway, I will be a little unsettled until I can save that back up. A privileged position to be in at this time. A privileged position to be in anyway, to have savings. I don't know what the stat is. There is a stat that says it puts you in a particular percentile if you have any savings at all. But particularly so, obviously, during cost of living crisis and things like that. Now, I know by about the January, February time, I will be able to, it won't be back at where it was, but it will feel a little bit more comfortable again, which will be nice, assuming that nothing happens to stop me working back in schools as I plan to. 2 days a week, and that generally covers normally, if I can get usually around 8 days on average in there, that will cover the mortgage and bills and a little bit more. So that's much more comfortable. So that's good. But in August, which is why I'm not getting paid in September, schools were shut. Schools don't open during that time. And July had been medium of what I'd been able to squeeze in. So yes, how did I get through August? So firstly is the fact that I saved up. I had saved ahead of time, and I've always had where I've shared on TikTok, which I haven't done for a while. I haven't done the how much I've earned each month. Not because I didn't want to. One, time. Two, it was getting more complex because the business is earning more money regularly. And I used to count that in the money I generated for the month. And now I'm like, I need to really start separating that to really just establish the difference between me and it. And hopefully one day the business will pay me and I'll be able to say, well, I took £200 back out of the business because I paid myself this month. We're not talking paying a wage. We're definitely talking that combined with freelance work, combined with supply teaching, and combined with the other things I do. But for now, it's not paying me. Well, that's getting to a point where I might be able to treat myself. Or I loaned the business money to start it off. That's how you initially can put investment in and then get it back later. So technically I owe myself some money from that. And that's also a big backup for if I need to get access to extra money in September. So we'll see what happens. Other than that, what did I do? So savings was one. And obviously that I knew from January. I was calling them orange months, red months and green months. There are many orange months and they're quite comfortable. Green months are super great. I've made a lot more than I ever anticipated and than I ever need. However, we had this red month being August, but the reality is that it affects September the worst, this section. And it was surrounded had a lead up of orange/orange red month. So June, I'd had an orange amount because I took some time off. And then in July, we've obviously got schools ending slightly before the end of July. Plus we had a family holiday in there, which I could have done without, like just for that money. I know you could go experience over money, but this pays my bill. So I went with it anyway. And so there weren't that many days, but I have survived. I think I'll be okay. Ask me at the end of October, which I'm sure I'll try and share with you. What have I done to make sure I've still actually generated money? We're not including the business in that. The business is separate, doesn't count, it's not paying me. So how have I made money for moi? So a couple of things. One is that I worked at a festival. I didn't actually have that many working days in August because I was away again myself on my own trip to a festival. So the end of July, start of August started with being away. And another trip that I had booked when I used to have a full-time job last summer meant I was also away for another section. So it was all over the place. But I did, for one of them, go to a festival that I worked at. Now, I was not paid an extortionate amount of money. This was not loads of money, but it was reasonable for something I was walking around stewarding for. So yes, if things go wrong, it could be intense. We did have a situation that meant I was calling things in on a radio. But otherwise, it was very simple. It was a fun experience to do. We were intense. And, you know, I got to go to a festival for free. So I didn't spend money on that per se. I got a couple of meal vouchers whilst I was there too. So the cost of that wasn't too bad. And I've been able to offset the travel to the festival as an expense. You are allowed to do it. You're entitled to do that when you are working away from home. So that there allowed me to earn, it will be a couple of £100, that one will be. So, you know, it's not the same. It's not the same as paying my bills. But that will come in, should come in 30 days after the invoice went in, I believe it is. So it should come in just before the end of September. So that will feel a little bit quite like nice there to have that and know that that's coming in. The other one that's really, really been useful to me is Amazon Flex. I have done some TikTok videos on this and people are shocked that it's not as much that I'm earning. So it was roughly £32 to £33 per shift, which is 2 hours or so. The place that I go and pick up from is literally 15 minutes down the road. And I can be sent locally, mediumly locally, or quite far away. And when I say quite far away, we're talking from here, because you have to think of the return journey, 25 miles away. So it depends, but sometimes it's literally, it's not quite around the corner, but we're talking 5 to 10 miles away, or just where the pickup bit was from, which isn't too bad at all. And that's about 10 miles away on its own. And the thing I've loved about Amazon Flex is the rates do go up the kind of later you leave it. So the more flexible you are, to some degree, it goes up because of the demand they have and need for it. And sometimes I've just been sat there and I wasn't really planning to do anything or not do anything. And then they've sent one through that's had just for an hour, like £22.50, which is a lot more than an hour would be normally. And yeah, I'm just taking it because it makes sense. The beauty is that I get the choice around it, which I absolutely love. They have shifts generally available most days. And obviously it's where it fits for me. And it's usually the afternoon between 1:30 and 3:15 usually that's actually the slot I normally do. They sometimes go to about start at 4. You can tell if they're having a day where they've either got lots of orders or more orders than they have workers, because you can see them starting to shift the time later and later. But what's beautiful and helpful about that is that you're paid everything, so no tax comes out. That doesn't mean you're exempt from it. You are due to pay tax on that, but you can offset all your expenses in your self-assessment and you would pay it at the end of the year. And I technically end up overpaying through my PAYE because of the way that it's all set up and being on a 0 hours contract and things. And I prefer it that way. I'd rather overpay on tax for the tax that's coming out automatically and not really owe stuff at the end than have a bill. I'm not fantastic with that way around. So I'd rather overpay, take it from me. And some people be like, but the interest, I'm like, I don't care, take it. And I'll be owed it with a little check. It's like a little mini savings account in that sense for me. Don't even see it, don't have to think about it, don't have to manage it. But with Flex, you get paid weekly, which is really handy. I used to be paid weekly in the theatre world. It was beautiful. You used to get paid every Friday and it just made cash flow so much easier because you didn't have to budget for the month. Now I'm fairly good at budgeting in general for long term, for the week. I don't tend to go too mad away from it, and I don't like to spend stuff on things that I don't need. So I don't tend to waste money that is in my account. So that's been really good because all I've had to do is go, well, I'll just do an extra shift. I'll just do an extra shift. And I'm a bit gutted this week. I don't think I'm going to fit anything in because it helps me get through. But I'm due, it's Tuesday today, so tomorrow's Wednesday. I'll get a little payment of just under £90 having done 2 shifts. Perfect. I'll take that. And that will pay for the petrol that I put in my car today. And it's a little something to get through the rest of the week, whether that's the shopping or it's the travel up to London because I've got to go to a conference. So, you know, it's just little bits. Another week though for that, I earned £200 odd, and that was 6 or 7 days worth, don't get me wrong. But, you know, it all adds up. And that's the important bit is I am surviving. I'm more than surviving. I'm doing okay. I haven't had to like consider food or anything like that. I'm lucky in that sense. But I like doing Amazon Flex. People could look at the situation and go, but you're a teacher, you tutor, you coach, and you charge more for those things, or you get more for those things per hour. I'm like, But the beauty of Amazon Flex is that I just get to choose when I do it. It's nice and straightforward, pretty much, other than every now and then trying to find the houses that are a bit complex. It's sometimes a nice way to break the day up as well. Some people will be like, what's the point for 2 hours? I'd be like, well, if I've had a day at home and I've been busy on my laptop and sat and done lots on that, it can just be the break of going out, driving, listening to music, listening to a podcast, or not being completely mindless because you've got to be careful of your car, but, you know, not thinking about loads of getting stuff done. So I love it. And I've even gone to a few celebrities' houses. One had the name on, it was definitely them. One I didn't know. I just looked up this beautiful location because it had an actual name, this place. And yeah, it turned out it was a celebrity's house, which was interesting. So it's got some fun little stories to go with it too. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it. And yes, I do have commercial insurance to cover me before anyone asks. You do have to have it. They've got a partner now they're working with that you can pay as you go, or you pay for the hours you're doing. I didn't know that at the time when I sorted mine out because I just wanted to cover it. My insurance was up. So I don't know how that works. It's probably more cost effective, but I'm over it. It was in my mind, it's been factored in to what the decision I made. So that's not a problem. But yeah, they're the things that have kind of got me through. Luckily, the podcast now has a couple of ads on it and that pays for itself. So whilst that's not something that directly affects me, it means that the business doesn't have to pay for it because you're earning the money from the ads and they just take it off the bill, which is nice for the podcast hosting. I managed to also recommend a few people to Gusto. Gusto, I get it. People don't love ads and links, but when it's something that I genuinely am interested in, or in this case, have genuinely used. I have used Gusto for 3 years. 3 years. When I moved back home to my parents, I was strongly pescatarian at the time, would not touch meat if I couldn't. And I was just like, what am I going to do here? Because then I can't eat their food. I need to come up with my own, and now I need to pay for it all. And for some reason, maybe it was Joe Wicks at the time on his Instagram stories, was given a discount code. And I was like, you know what? Right now, I just need cheap food. I just need to see what it's like. First box was 60% off. And I thought, right, well, first box at 40% is fabulous. Let's just see how it goes. And I thought, if it's terrible, I won't do it again. But with that deal, you also got 30% off of the boxes for the rest of the month. So I was like, okay, well, after box one was great, I already have my next order in, 30% off. And again, I was like, right, let's see how bored I get of this over the month. I didn't get bored. Yes, I've skipped boxes. Whilst I was away this July and August, I didn't have some boxes because it was just not practical to. And they're fantastic at that. Just cancel it. But I love it just arriving. I buy the box for 2 people and I usually buy either 3 meals or 4 meals. 3 meals obviously does 6 meals for me, or 4 meals does 8. And I'm a bit stacked up. I do have some left over and I've got some stuff frozen. So I don't really like to order 4 now because I know I've got to get through those. I prefer to be under and start utilising the spare stuff I've got. But I just love it. The automatic part of it, not having to meal prep and plan myself. Like I just choose what I want and then I plan around that rather than going, right, well, I'll have this, this and this. So I need to shop and buy this, that and that. It's done for me. I either double up my dinners or double up on a dinner and a lunch, depending on my week and how it's all panning out and where I am. So by recommending people, I then got some credit within Gusto and I didn't have to pay for some of my own meals, which was a touch as well. You know, again, having an audience, that's been something that has been possible to do. And it's not loads, but every little bit adds up and helps me go, right, well, I don't have to pay for a box for a couple of weeks then, which is really handy. So they're my quickest reflective tips on how I saved money and earned money over August. It's a little bit longer than 10 minutes. It looks like it's more like 15 minutes, but I hope you've enjoyed that anyway. And I will plan to do at least another video within 2 weeks. Let's say 2 weeks and be optimistic. 1 week is too much of a push. There's too much going on, but how exciting. I hope that any questions you've got, drop them below in the comments. I do get back to them. You can follow on Instagram for the daily goings on of my life and just following how the business is going, giving up my job, solo travel adventures, all that kind of stuff. So see you there for more solo girl boss adventures.